we were chatting earlier about how many interesting games we've had to cover on the channel in the last couple of weeks. There have been some cracking indies, and we were approached by the developers of Witchspring R, which we saw come out a few weeks back, but didn't get a chance to play. And it's another one, isn't it, that combines a lot of really unique elements.
Yeah, it really does. It's an RPG that has a number of interesting points to it, as you mentioned, and we'll go through them now and let you know exactly how it all works.
As always, any sponsor content, we like to give away a copy. We also won't score the sections, but you're free to ask questions down below, and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can.
So what exactly is Witchspring R? Well, let's find out.
The game is set in a continent known as Vervalia, where humanity, or humans, have essentially fought back and destroyed the gods of the world, which has then spawned witches. Witches were born of the world, and they've had to strive to survive, and in doing so have become very strong indeed, but still find themselves hunted.
You play as one such witch named Pieberry, who, as you may have ascertained, loves pies, and she really does love pies, doesn't she?
Yeah, it's got a very light-hearted, kind of whimsical, but also dark comedy to it. She's always looking for pies, but to get them, she's an absolute savage.
She is. You have the crafting, alchemy element to it, and she obviously forages for ingredients at times, but this does involve a number of rabbits who are no longer with us, shall we say.
Exactly, yeah. You have to target them manually, the same for like fishing. It's kind of one of the aspects that I like about the game early on, is that it's no nonsense, you know, you're not spending time getting your rod out, she just fires a bolt of lightning at their head. So the storyline is available in both Korean and Japanese. There isn't an English voice dub, but there are on-screen subtitles. When it comes to gameplay then, if you're a fan of Atelier games, then you're going to have a bit of an idea how this one goes, but as we say, there are a lot of elements that I've never seen combined in this way. It all starts out, and I guess the hub is your house. So from your house you can sleep upstairs, you can train up your pets, we'll go into those in a minute, and you can also train yourself, almost like a Rocky montage.
Yeah, there are a number of mini games that relate to this training aspect of the game, and you can choose the stats it is that you want to improve within yourself, making sure that the growth path you select is one that you feel will help you in the game later.
A nice touch is that you don't have to play those mini games. Once you've kind of saturated the fun that they may provide, you can actually automate all of that process. In fact, there's quite a bit of automation. You can do things like potions that automatically craft when you go back to your house. Just some nice touches, quality of life features. This one was obviously originally released back in 2015, so this version is almost a remaster or a remake of the original Witchspring game, which was back on mobile. Much of your time will be spent dungeon crawling. It has that aspect to it, whether it's in a swamp or a cave, and you'll generally be looking for ingredients or following story beats.
Yeah, along with this, as Mark mentioned, there are parts of the game that can be skipped or automated, such as battles, and you can teleport using magic to allow for fast travel over longer distances.
Yeah, the combat then, so you've got what seems at first glance as relatively straightforward turn-based combat, but again it has a number of systems to make it a bit more strategic. You've got things like every 4 attacks you're then able to do a guaranteed critical, which you can plan into your strategy as you fight tougher monsters. You've also got what's known as weapon stimulus, which are things that you apply to your weapon that again every 4 turns, so there's this constant theme of every 4 turns being able to plan unique elements that are going to take place, that if you find yourself in a tough position, you may hold off on things like healing because you know you're going to be able to do that bigger attack.
It also has something that I really enjoy in RPGs, and that's being able to instantly kill weaker enemies once you get to that point of being strong enough. I always think that's a fantastic inclusion. It just streamlines things so much.
It is quite a narratively driven game. There's this constant back and forth with soldiers attacking the area. She has this large golem that defends the place. But when I say she's a savage, for example, she'll find a soldier, she'll be desperate to get his pies, track him down, batter him in combat, and then say to him something along the lines of, oh, you know, I'll help you get out of the cave, which she does, and then in the next scene, she's handed him over to the golem who's tossed him across the sky. Within those dungeon areas as well, there are puzzle sections. So early on, quite simple ones, like the water just raises and lowers and you have to time your movements. But there's also one where there's a load of piranha fish and you pick up some stones and toss that to the side and try and escape, which I failed to do quite a number of times. But it is nice to see those elements, and it actually comes up on screen when you're doing a puzzle, that you're doing a puzzle.
Oh, okay.
It's a little on-screen notification.
So we mentioned crafting earlier and being able to create certain items, and some of these can be used to tame animals and turn them into your pets basically.
Yeah, that's within combat as well. So like we've seen in a few other titles, when you've got their health down to a certain level, they'll be vulnerable for capture. And you can perform one of the abilities that Glen just said that you've unlocked that then has a chance to capture. It's not 100%, because I was wondering why I kept killing them. And it's just not like it never is. It's not 100% cap rate.
There are over 20 different types of pets available to be trained, should you capture them of course. And you can then ride some of these to allow you to get across certain parts of the terrain and navigate further areas.
Yeah, this was a nice moment when the boar, which by the way was captured by a very tiny bird, and then I tossed a fireball at, when the boar was then my companion, you could ride it around, as Glen said, access those new areas, but you can also feed it to boost the affinity. And by doing that, and those are those kind of optional things, by doing those optional things, that then unlocks new special moves. And they'll also fight for you in combat, which was a nice touch, and that's partially automated. So the map, as you'd expect, gradually expands as the game goes on, but it's opening up at a very quick rate, which is the general feeling I have for the whole game. I am a big fan of the Atelier series, and those are a lot slower than this. This feels like it respects your time. Like things are opening up quickly, the pet taming, the different combat elements. It's just fast, and it will show you in the world as well if you do need to grind. Once you've killed a group of enemies, it shows you on the ground basically where and when they're going to respawn, which is a nice touch.
And on the point of grinding, you can also adjust the difficulty. I think there were 4 in total, 4 difficulty settings, and you can adjust these at any point through your playthrough.
The controls are straightforward enough. Everything's bound to quick keys, and there are quick menus that you can set up. As I say, you can automate aspects like having to brew potions so that you don't have to keep repeating the same actions over and over again, which again also ties into the overall speed and fluidity. So let's have a look at the visuals then. I do know that this one runs on the Unity engine, and we're very often looking for frame drops and frame issues. What did you think?
Well, we played it in both handheld and docked mode, and it ran very well in both. 30 frames per second by the looks of it, but a very stable 30.
Yeah, and load times as well, which you have to do quite a lot because you're going into and out of caves and into your house. You can see those are relatively quick as well. Just overall a positive impression. It looks good, it runs well.
It does, it looks like a polished game, and it has a very unique art style in that hand-drawn way. It reminded me a little bit, I said to you Mark, of I Am Setsuna.
Yeah.
That's quite a melancholic game, and this doesn't go for that necessarily, but in terms of the character animations and the world itself, it definitely had a bit of that about it.
Yeah, and I do think that ties into that kind of humour that it goes for.
Yeah.
It's like that juxtaposition, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, as I mentioned, in terms of sound, the whole game is narrated in Japanese or Korean. You also have the on-screen subtitles, but it has nice music. I didn't notice any repetitive loops, which is always a good sign, with that classic anime main protagonist.
A little high-pitched.
A little high-pitched.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, before we look at the retail prices, the RRP, I do want to let you know about a couple of extra pieces of information. With Steamfest, the game will be celebrating its first anniversary, so you'll be able to get a discount as well as a Switch sale that's starting.
So looking at value now then, and in terms of the UK price, it's £35.99. Regional equivalents will be on your screen now. And game length wise, you're looking at about 20 hours if you're blitzing through it, I suppose, up to 30-35 if you want to take things at a slower pace or see everything the game has to offer.
And although this isn't a scored review, it does hold an overwhelmingly positive rating over on Steam, which is a very high indicator of its overall reception, as well as Metacritic. It's got a very high score over there. I believe it sold around 100,000 plus copies, so yeah, not bad at all, but I think it needs a little bit more attention for sure, because it's a good game. So that's it. Let us know what you think of Witchspring R. We will be giving away a copy of this one. It's been a strange week for games because you've got 3 titles, haven't you, with similar aspects but completely unique.
Yeah, 3 different monster catching type games, or at least with an element of it in there, but as you say, handling it very different each time. If you do want to win that copy, just stick a comment down below telling us what exactly you like the look of best in this particular game. Thanks again to the publishing team for sponsoring this video, and thanks to all of you for watching, of course. Thanks to our patrons and our channel members, and until next time, happy gaming.